Good afternoon. It's finally game week here at Notre Dame, and I know for our players, they're certainly excited about the opportunity to go to Austin and play Texas. Two great programs, great traditions. Playing on a stage that they have to themselves in a sense on a Sunday night. So a lot of excitement. I know in our locker room as we get into game week, it's you flip the switch. We've been in camp for an extended period of time, and now flipping that switch. Now you get into a routine. You begin to now focus on the preparation for playing a Texas team that is very talented. It's a team that we know well, having played them last year. Watched a lot of film in the offseason. Has seen a football team that came up with two really big wins last year against nationally ranked teams in Oklahoma and Baylor, and a team that obviously and Coach Strong has developed a lot of talent, has recruited extremely well, so we know that it's a talented football team that's playing at home. They're going to be honoring their 2006 national championship team, so a lot of things that they'll feed off of, and what they can't feed off of is a Notre Dame football team that gives them any excitement in a sense that we go down there and turn the football over, give them big plays, and so it's very important that our football team gets off to a good start against Texas. I think both teams are certainly focused on the little things in the opener. Many of you here have heard many coaches talk about the opener relative to special teams and taking care of the football and assignments, and I think that for me is the same thing when we've got a number of young players that are going to be playing in this game, and I think what I'm most interested in is how we handle the adversity that we'll face the first time. Certainly there will be some adversity. And how we charge through that and manage it will say a lot about this football team moving forward. Specifically, both teams are going to be playing, looks like a couple of quarterbacks. And I think a lot of attention, a lot of eyes, a lot of national media and local media will be wanting to focus on that. But sometimes when you focus on the quarterbacks, you forget about there's a lot of other things going on out there. And there's a lot of talented players on both sides that will have to step up and make plays. Texas is going to rely on tempo on offense. With the new offensive coordinator, they're going to push the tempo. And defensively, they're young, they're athletic, and they're certainly going to keep the pressure on our offense. They know full well that we don't have an experienced receiving core, and they're going to keep a lot of pressure on our running game and make us certainly throw the football at a number of times during the game. So a lot of it in terms of playing out, I know people will focus on the quarterbacks, but there's a lot of other things going on in this game that are very important, and our kids have to execute, quite well. I think both running games are going to have to be very, very instrumental in this game. They've got two big physical running backs in Foreman and Warren, and we think, we've got great depth at the running back position as well. Adams comes off a great year. Certainly, we feel like with our offensive line, getting Folston back, that's going to be a big piece for us, that we've got some depth at the running back position as well. So those games, I think, will be featured as well. And then, of course, when just you start to forget about how important special teams is in this game, I think special teams will play a huge role as well. So that's my overview. Again, I think there'll be plenty of questions about the quarterbacks, certainly today and moving forward, but there'll be so many other storylines in this game. How young players perform on the road, how young players step up to the challenges. I think, again, adversity and getting through that. And then carving out a running game, I think, is going to be very, very important in the outcome of this game. So with that, let's begin with questions.
Brian, over here. Do you know who will take the first snap Sunday at quarterback?
Nope, haven't figured that out yet. I mean, we're both, doing the same things that we've been asking them to do, and that may be something that we discussed in the locker room. It's not really an issue for us right now. It's not something that we've contemplated.
Do you have a plan, I guess, in the sense of how you want the reps and offense essentially to be split, or is it going to be more by feel within the game?
It'll be more by feel. Yep.
Are the 4 players who were arrested, whose status was still uncertain last week, have you got any clarity on whether they will play this week at Texas? I know some of them were on the depth chart.
Yeah, they're all on the depth chart. They've all, at this point, they're available to play. But as you know, some of these situations are out of my hands, but that's why they're on the depth chart. I'll control what I can control from a football standpoint, but if there are issues that occur outside of my control, we'll deal with it at that time. But as it stands right now, they're on the depth chart because they're available to play as we speak. And on Saturday, if they're cleared to play as of Saturday, then we would play them.
Is that, I guess, you get a decision essentially from the university by Saturday? Is that kind of the deadline, or
No, I don't think there's any deadline. The university will work their process, and we'll continue to move forward. They're not under. There's no deadline per se, but we kind of work as if they're going to play, and if something changes, the university will let us know.
And is Devin Butler's status still the same, indefinitely suspended, or?
That's correct. Yep.
And I think Cincinnati played a Monday opener.
We did against Rutgers. Yeah.
I don't know how much you can take from that, but just opening on a day of the week other than Saturday and having an extra day or two to prepare, how does that change, I guess, your guys' preparation, especially with the announcement coming pretty late this year?
Yeah. The routine, we try to get back into the same routine. Generally, where it affects you more is on that next week is where you really have to be careful, because we'll get back in at 4 o'clock in the morning Monday, and then we play Nevada that Saturday. So my concerns usually are on the flip side of it, because you adjust your schedule a little bit. Like yesterday was a normal Monday for us, but we gave the kids the day off, so that is a change in a normal schedule for us, just to get it on a normal week schedule. It was really a Sunday for us. So that's not really a big deal going into it. It's the next week where you concern yourself with making sure that they've got proper rest.
And I know over the summer you'd mentioned something about single-digit jersey numbers being rewarded and the number one rotating on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
What exactly is that going to look like now that the game's here?
Yeah, we'll be awarding the number one jersey out prior to the game, based upon a number of factors within our program that have to do with character both on and off the field, practice, and our captains will be involved, as well as our coaches, in signaling out an individual who will wear that jersey on game day.
That's week to week, it'll be different?
That's correct.
And 2 through 9 are the same as we've seen?
No,
through
it's
camp,
just going to be number one.
So there's no special merit, I guess, to the sense between 2 through 9?
No, we just singled it out as number one.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Brian, you mentioned sort of adversity, young players on the road. Is part of the reason you go with Avery over Devin at safety to not invite any more adversity with a young player than you need to in this situation?
Well, Devin was a little bit behind with the hamstring as well, so I don't know that it's all that, Pete, but certainly, you want to put veterans on the field if you can. I think if Devin was clearly ahead of Sebastian, we would have Devin on the field over Sebastian, but Sebastian's had a good camp. He's been really rock solid, but there's merit to that question in that, you want to try to keep as many veterans in that starting role as possible and let those younger guys work their way into the lineup. But I think more than anything else, Devin Devin put himself a little bit behind with the injury. He didn't put himself behind. The injury caused him to be a little bit behind, but he's made up really a lot of ground in a very short period of time.
You've been able to open here with the exception of Navy in Ireland, which is just a different set of circumstances. Are you looking for something different, or your concerns different for your younger players who haven't played on Sunday night than they would be just at this time last year against Texas here? Is it a different set of factors that you're trying to keep an eye out for this week, even just on Sunday night in warm-ups, and see how they're reacting to it all?
Oh yeah, you're definitely taking all that into account as how they prepare this week, what you're pushing them through, and then when they get out there in pregame, you want to. I always get a sense of how kids respond to the moment, and we'll adjust accordingly. If we feel like somebody's having a problem with the moment, we'll adjust accordingly. And so all those factors, we're definitely going to have our fingers on the pulse of some of our players as they get ready for their first big time event, if you will.
I mean, I guess without singling any out individual, in your coaching career, have you gone through a pregame of an opener and be like, okay, we can't play this kid?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've had many of those. More than you would know. You'd go, well, just why didn't he start the game? And I'd come up with some, baloney answer for you later. But it was generally because I was looking in the back of his head during pregame. Couldn't see his eyes.
And just on the four underclassmen, have you had interaction with the Office of Community Standards in terms of a hearing or a meeting with those four players?
Procedurally, they do not have hearings until they get the reports. The reports would have been released today, so they'll get the reports, and then the office will now commence on their work, I would assume.
Would you expect to have any contact with them, or?
We always have communication. Yeah, we have great lines of communication with the office.
Thanks.
Ryan, over here. At your rush end, Trombetti's listed first, and then the Hayeses. Is that somewhat due to Jay's injury, or is he?
Yeah, put him back a little bit, but he'll play and he'll contribute. But being out 5 or 6 days in a very competitive situation gave Andrew just enough of that opportunity to take more reps and put himself in a really good position.
And what do you hope to see from Dalen Hayes?
I think a lot of what we just talked about. Dalen hasn't played a lot of football over the last year and a half. So settle into the game, get lined up right, don't jump offside, put your jersey on the right way, just settle into the game. We're not asking him to change the complexion of the game, but just to get into the flow of the game. And I think if he does a good job of settling down and getting into the flow of the game, I think he'll have some success. But really not asking too much early on and then get into the flow of the game.
We've seen very little of Avery Sebastian, just spots here and there since he's been here.
We haven't seen much of him either.
Okay. I'm just wondering, the guy that's going to play for you at Texas, how close is he to maybe the peak of who he was at Cal when he was healthy?
Well, what we've seen and what we can evaluate is a consistent performer. He's assignment correct. He makes very few errors, and that's what we like. We have two performers back there in Tranquil and Sebastian that are assignment correct. Now, do they have the range maybe at times that we would like? Probably not, but they do a lot of really good things for us, and they can play the kind of defense that we need to be successful. So where maybe they lack some of the range of the younger players who will play and play considerable roles, they're rock solid and they're veteran players. And, I think that's where, Pete was kind of alluding to earlier. We're starting a guy who's been around and played some college football, and we feel good about getting him on the field first and then eventually getting all of these guys in the game.
There's sometimes a guy, a lot of players get injured and they're never quite themselves again. And every once in a while you have a guy that's better than he ever was. Is Tarean Folston have a chance to be in that second category?
I've been very impressed with his camp, his elusiveness, the way he's run. I expect him to have a significant impact in what we do offensively. Yeah, he's really always been an instinctive runner. I think he's been more of a grinded out, inline kind of runner that most teams love to have. He's patient. He gives the offensive line an opportunity to get on their blocks. I know they love blocking for him because he makes our offensive line really look good on combination blocks. So I expect him to do some good things for us.
The last one from me, the young men that were charged in Fulton County,
Yep.
If they hadn't got pulled over, there are people that kind of wonder, does Notre Dame have drug testing? Would this eventually come to a head, through that? And, how often are kids drug tested?
We have a very rigorous drug testing policy. Our drug testing policy, along with the NCAA drug policy, I've been at, the schools, 4 schools, and, I believe our policy is as stringent and when I say stringent, I mean we are on top of it on a day-to-day basis, but we're also, it's not just punitive, it's education, and if the education part is not working, then the punitive part comes in. But I think that I think we've done a great job with our drug testing policy.
You mentioned that it's punitive, and not to belabor a point, I respect that you want to talk about football, but...
Well, I think it's educational first and foremost. I think there is a component that's punitive as well. I think all drug testing programs need to be educational first, and if you find as though that is not changing somebody through counseling and education, then I believe there needs to be a punitive component.
Was that your thought process in allowing them to be available to play this Sunday?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that there needs to be an educational component in that end. And as we continue to monitor these guys, they are in a program as such, and will be put on a program that they will not know when tests occur. So, and that is part of our program as well. We have an element within our program that they can be tested at any time, and we think that's appropriate in this case. So we think that is an important part of the education process as well.
Now, how do you get the message to the rest of the team that we don't have, or Notre Dame does not have a culture of tolerance, because a precedent has been set now? You can have one strike and you'll still get to play. It's the second, third, fourth, whatever strikes that would really be punitive.
Well, we have that through our entire athletic program, that the first, your first time is an educational process. In other words, counseling and education, and then you enter into that track program that you could have random drug testing. So it's not just football, it's the entire athletic department, and our whole department is set up that way. And I don't know how other programs are, but we certainly consult and look at other like schools, and I'm confident to say that most, if not all, are pretty much the same.
And last one from me. I'm curious because I'm a father of 3, you're a father. 5 of your players are caught in a car with an unlicensed handgun, and you mentioned last week you did not know who it belonged to. Why did you feel it wasn't important to ask that question?
We did. We found out. We ended up
Okay,
finding
but
out.
just at that time, you didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know at that time. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah, we ended up finding out. Yeah.
Coach, over here. From what you learned in the last 3 weeks, where's your most effective pass rush going to come from?
I think probably on a consistent basis, it's come from Isaac Rochelle. He's been very difficult to handle one-on-one, and that's across the board from all of our players. And when I say all of our players, all 5 guys up front. Individually at times, when Jerron Jones is on, boy, he's a handful inside, because of his physicality. But I would say Isaac Rochelle.
Are special packages necessary to really, be effective?
Oh, well, I think first and second down today in college football are your base defenses, and then third down, everything becomes a specialty. And so people are going to be moving around. You'll have different position groups. You'll have different personnel on the field, and that's really to try to take advantage of some of the guys that maybe wouldn't be as effective on first and second down, but can provide you one-dimensional advantage, and that is the pass rush. So we think, we've got a couple of freshmen. Okora is going to travel with us. Jones, Junior, the young Jones is going to travel with us because we think that they've got some skills that can help us in pass rush. So there's a number of guys that we think that can get to the quarterback. Dalen Hayes. Individually, Isaac Rochelle presents first, second, and third down for us, but I think there's probably a half dozen guys on third down situations that can get to the quarterback for us.
How do their 2 quarterbacks differ?
Oh, well, they're quite different. They're not quite the same in the sense that we have. Swoop's obviously a big arm. Obviously can get the ball down the field. We know about his size and physicality. He's got a lot of athletic ability. But, they want to move him around. He's not a guy that's going to stand in the same launch point. He's going to change launch points, move around. And quite frankly, I've been impressed when teams have pressured him. He's done a really nice job of getting the ball down the field. And Shane he's more of a guy that will hit open receivers. He's much more of a guy that can be reading across the board relative to progressions and precision passer, if you will. So you've got 2 different quarterbacks. Both of them can make plays down the field, and both of them have been effective. So I can see how coaches is probably want to play both of them because they do have different styles.
Brian, given on the surface last year when Max was sent home from the Fiesta Bowl and then was subsequently kicked off the team, on the surface it looks on the outside that these kids were arrested for possession of drugs and now Max is kicked off the team. Was there a reason why you didn't suspend them, and could you have the procedure that you guys follow here? Could you have superseded that and suspended them anyway? We
did. I'm not sure.
Well,
Max was charged with the possession of a handgun. That changed the whole situation. So that's what caused the dismissal. And as an upperclassman, not really living up to the standards that I set. The other 4 guys, we're talking about possession of marijuana. And me dealing with that situation. So it was the handgun that was the game changer.
Okay, did you consider suspending the other 4?
Did I?
Yeah.
In terms of?
For the possession of marijuana.
No, I did not.
And why is that? Just because of procedure or
Because I've never suspended a player for a game for a first offense in this instance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Brian, I know you've talked about what you're going to do at quarterback, but have you thought more about whether you want to do it situationally or keep them in, keep one quarterback in for a series at a time so that they can, build some consistency?
The comfort level of the quarterback and his rhythm is something that is always an issue with them. and I can't help them with that. What we're mostly focusing on is what Texas wants to do, and then how we counter with our two quarterbacks, and how we think effectively they can run our offense. So there will probably be times where, man, that probably doesn't feel good for his flow or tempo. That probably doesn't work best for him. But what we're trying to counter is the game within the game, and that is how Texas is trying to defend what we're doing offensively. So that's really the biggest issue that I have moving forward, is that we're going to run the quarterbacks as we see how the defense is playing us.
You talked last week about the hot hand with the running backs. Do you see something similar with the quarterback getting a hot hand, getting, going in longer?
I think that plays a little bit into it. I think that, you want to keep your quarterbacks, as I said, we just answering the question that was just asked, is that flow is important, rhythm is important, but if we get into a particular field zone that I think another quarterback can be more effective based upon what Texas is doing, I may have to supersede the hot quarterback, if you will, for the right person at the right time.
And this game is a game of routine. You worry about that just having two quarterbacks will upset things a little bit, just the fact that you have to do things differently when you're warming up, splitting the warm-up time with the first team and all that, and just how everything progresses during the game.
I'm not that worried about it. They're two veteran players. They know how to play. It's they don't like it. They would like to be the guy, but they want to win, and they'll do whatever's necessary to win and find a way to win the game. So when we get through pregame, they kick the ball off, we're on the sideline, and the game starts, they'll be fine. And when all the press conferences are over and we're done talking about it, they'll be fine. Leading up to it, they won't be fine. And when you guys get them tomorrow, they won't be fine with it. And so it's just the nature of it. It's not an ideal situation for either one of them. It's best for our team that they both play. How long this happens, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
Would you prefer coming out of it knowing who the number one quarterback is for at least the next game?
It depends how both of them play.
But would you prefer to? I mean, is that your hope, that you find somebody?
I'm not trying to elude the question, but if they both play dynamically and they feed off of each other, my ideal situation would be I'm playing them both because they're both playmakers. And if we can find a way that they both can feed off each other, help our offense to be the productive offense that we want it to be, I'd love to see them both play. And, nobody seems to think that can happen, but we're going to give it a shot.
And you talked about, how young the receivers are. Just how confident are you that Torrey Hunter at this point is ready to step up and be a primary receiver that you hope he's going to be?
He'll play well. We're not ready to put him up in the category of All-American. He's got to go prove himself. He hasn't proven himself yet, but he's going to be a good receiver for us. But he needs help. He's going to have complementary receivers around him. And so for us to just say, Torrey Hunter is going to be our savior is fool's gold. He's going to have to make some plays for us, but he's got to play himself into some confidence as well. He doesn't have a big resume. He's got to go make some plays himself. So as much as we are young, he's inexperienced in the sense that he's got to play a lot more football and play a lot more, meaning a lot more snaps than he's ever played before.
Brian, you mentioned watching a lot of Texas film. What about with Buechele? I mean, spring game, what are you working off of with him?
Well, spring game was a typical spring game. It was difficult. But we know the style of quarterback. I remember from high school, I know what kind of quarterback he is. He's high percentage. And I think if you look at the two quarterbacks, he fits the system pretty good with the new offensive coordinator. And so I think it's, for them, it's a comfort level that they know he can run the system. It's just that Swoops is such an athletic kid. I mean, it's hard not for him to get your attention and his physicality and his arm strength. So I can see where they are. He's such a young kid. I see his potential and his growth to, one day be the starter there. But with Swoops, I know where they are. I mean, you've got an athletic kid that can do a lot of things, and you've got an emerging player in Buechele.
You mentioned the offensive coordinator. With their new offensive coordinator, is it a whole new ball game for you guys compared to a year ago?
It is. I mean, it's fast. This is going to be North Carolina fast. This is this is fast tempo, and we've worked hard on that to prepare our defense, for the kind of tempo they're going to see.
You hammered them, and you guys were ready to play last year, and maybe they weren't ready to play. Where have they improved? And I know it probably starts with the ground game because you shut it down, and they were really good the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But how did they improve as much as they did from game one to beat, an Oklahoma and Baylor and put themselves where they are now?
I think two areas. I think the running game started to emerge. I think they got some confidence there. And I think, secondly, some of the young players settled down, Malik Jefferson. I think, a couple of their younger players, the linebackers, settled down and started to be a little bit more fundamentally sound in their areas. And I think defensively they just tightened some things up. So tightened up defensively and began to run the ball effectively.
Those two big backs, they only carried 6 times against you guys last year, and you held them to 9 yards.
Yeah.
But, obviously you're going to see a whole lot
They're
more
coming
carries.
after us, yeah. There's no question. It's going to be a feature of what this game is. As I said, we talk a lot about the quarterbacks, but the running game on both sides will be a big factor in this game, in my opinion.
And last thing, I realize that using 2 quarterbacks, that throws a different slant on everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at this offense and as you project and think ahead as to what you're going to have, how do you think this offense is going to produce? Last year, big play with Procise and Fuller. You talked about Hunter. Maybe he's not as big play. Is this more of a, for lack of a better term, a grinded-out offense as opposed to a big play offense? Or don't you know?
Well, I think each year your offense kind of finds its identity. Did we know Procise was going to be the kind of back that he was going to be? We weren't really sure once we lost Folston. We really weren't sure what Kaiser was going to give us. So each year the offense has the ability to kind of, mend itself to and what we are and who we're going to be. I think we have enough players across the board that we can be who we decide to be. And if we get the kind of support at the other areas, I think we can be a balanced offense. If we find out that we can't be, then I think we can be that offense that, runs the football with a grinded out mentality. But I'd like to be more balanced, and I think we can be, but we'll find out.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Coach, right here to your right, you had mentioned about the week after Texas, there's just a problem with the rest aspect. How about just going into Texas, the fact that sometimes when you go on the road on Friday and don't play until Saturday night, there's that downtime, but now you have that extra day of downtime. Is there any way to alleviate that, or are you making this almost like a bowl trip?
Well, we're not going to leave until late Friday, so we'll do all of our work here like it's a Thursday, right? So it's really a day earlier. So we'll do all of our work here, and we won't get in until late Friday. So we'll get up, and like most Fridays, we'll do our work. The bonus for us is they have no class that day, so they'll be on the road. They'll be able to sleep in a little bit, catch up a little bit on rest, and then we'll go through our normal Friday for the entire day. We'll get in our practice. We'll get in all of the things that we do on a full Friday, which will be really good for them. They'll have some downtime. They'll have about 2-3 hours to watch some college football games. But then we'll get them back up on Saturday, or Sunday, excuse me, and we'll move them around again on game day. So I like it. I mean, I think the guys enjoy getting a little bit extra rest, extra treatments, and so I think it comes at a good time for our team.
On the depth chart, I noticed Tavon Coney is listed behind Niles at Mike linebacker. Have you cross-trained him?
We have. We have.
So would he be the next guy in as opposed to maybe Martini?
He has the ability to play there, but Greer could play at Mike as well. It depends on what kind of game it is and what the situation is.
Okay. And with Jameer Jones also as the number 2 to James at the
Yes.
Sam linebacker position, what have you seen in him that made
Smart.
that rise there?
Yeah, we like his retention. Smart football player, picks up things very well, and been pleased with his ability to hold material and carry it on to the next day. So that's kind of stood out to us, and he's got some pass rush ability as well. And I think those two things have been a pleasant surprise for us.
What earned the starting position for Colin McGovern at right guard over Tristan? And is there a possibility that in the course of the game they might be rotated as well, or would you rather not have that in the offensive line?
Colin, by virtue of being really good on his feet, just a good pass blocker, really good pass blocker, great balance, stays on his feet, and has been really solid for us. I think Tristan is physical, and he's getting better each week as a pass protector. At that center position, it's a little bit different, in terms of pass pro than it is at the guard position, and so that's evolving for him. I do see him playing. I don't know if it's a rotational situation right now, but I do see him getting into the game.
Would Tristan still be the next option at center?
He would. Him and Mark, we think both of them can go into the game for us, but Tristan right now would probably be the first option.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brian Centerfield here. With so many unknowns going into this game, is this game less about game planning and more about making adjustments on the fly, communicating with the other coaches in the box?
I think, when you go into an opener, even if you have a veteran team, you're always looking to get a sense and feel in that first quarter what a defense wants to do, what an offense wants to do. There is a little bit of sparring going on in every opener because you just don't really know. And so there is a bit of that going into this game. Throw on the fact that there's some uncertainties with some inexperienced players, adds to that a little bit. But I think every opener for me has always been the same. You want to see what they were thinking, what all those hours in the off season, what was the plan, and that's generally my take has been in openers. You're kind of in a sparring match there in the first quarter.
Fans get excited about opening day. How excited do you still get about opening day?
No, I get excited for every game. I mean, to me, the week I hate. It's it's not knowing if you've covered everything and the preparation. And I love going to practice. I love preparing, but I hate the fact that you may have forgotten to go over something or you didn't, drill it deep enough. You love going out and playing the games, but it's the fear of not covering every little thing that could occur in an opener, and I find myself at these times in openers, did I go over the lanes on the punt after a safety instead of the kickoff after a safety, and do I have the right guy out there on kickoff after a safety versus a kick after a safety? All the little things like that go through somebody's head like mine. It's a very weird kind of mind that I have.
And yet we still try to probe it.
Yeah, which I don't know why you try. You're getting some bad stuff there.
Nashawn Hughes,
Yeah.
for Texas, is a player we haven't talked about a lot, but he is certainly somebody that can be a difference maker on
Oh, yeah.
defense. What makes him so effective, and what do you have to combat?
Well, I mean, first step quickness. I mean, plays with low. I mean, he's a big guy that plays low and plays physical. I mean, it's a big front. I mean, big athletic front. Again, a group that, I thought played better and better as the year went on. We were talking earlier about where they saw improvement, as I thought they really tightened things up defensively against the run, and, he certainly was one of them.
Finally, if you have a chance to watch one of the myriad of other games on Saturday, is there one that intrigues you more than
I
another?
don't even know who's playing, honestly. No, I know USC's playing Alabama, but that's about it, because I saw that the other day on TV. But I really don't even know who else is playing.
Right up here, I kind of wanted to follow up on Eric's question about Tarean. He's mentioned that he has maybe a greater appreciation for practice and just kind of the little things day to day, week to week after his injury. Have you seen that, and kind of how does that play out for a guy like him in practice, kind of on a day to day basis?
Yeah, I think he appreciates the fact that all of the things that he does or is asked to do has a direct impact in how he can perform on Saturday. In other words, I think he gets it that it's purposeful. It's not just, hey, we're making you do this, and that's a perspective that a veteran gets. That we don't ask you to go out there and run around just because we want you to run around. I think he sees each drill, he sees each thing that we do will have a direct effect on how he can be a better football player on Saturdays, and I think he appreciates that.
Is that something, too, when it's taken away from a guy like that? You mentioned it's a veteran thing. A lot of veterans probably get it between sophomore and junior and senior. But when games are taken away like that, is that almost more of a lesson for him that it has that much of an impact?
Yeah, I think they get it twofold. I think they get it when they're injured and they come to practice and they kind of see it from that perspective where they hear so much more. When they have the helmet on, it's do, 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 do. When they're injured and they're there, and he was there for all of our bowl preparation, he was there for a lot of the games down the stretch, they're listening. They're listening to the interactions, they're listening to coaches, and I think they gain a different perspective when they're injured, and I think he gained that perspective. And then I think what happens is you then apply that to yourself when you're back practicing. And I think that those two things come together. And I've seen it with a number of players that have come back from injuries that they practice different, they have an attention that's a little bit different, and I think I've seen it with him as well.
And with Texas not announcing who's starting at quarterback, does that at all affect you guys and how you prepare, or is it just kind of?
No. I mean, as I said earlier, I think, it changes a little bit in terms of, keeping Swoops in the pocket and not letting him break contain. We have some things for him that we may not employ for Bruchel, but it's the tempo and being able to meet that.
Thanks.
Brian, other side here. You've addressed this a little bit in terms of uncertainty, but what do you find tends to be your biggest concern heading into a season opener?
Again, the things I just talked about. Did I prepare them? Are we peaking at the right time? Are their legs tired? Did we give them enough rest prior to? Did we handle every situation? What if they come out and bear defense, cover one? Are we running enough rub routes and all of those things, the myriad of things? Are you prepared enough for all of the eventualities? For me, it's always about the preparation. Did you prepare your football team for all the things that can happen in an opener? After you've played a couple of games, 3-4 games, you start to become who you are, and you know what to expect a lot more. The opener, there's a little bit more of that uncertainty, and that's never good for a football coach because we're always thinking of the worst case scenarios anyway.
So conversely, what do you feel strongly or confident about as you head into this weekend with your team?
Strongly or confident that no matter what happens, we're running the football, and strongly and confident that no matter what happens, from a defensive standpoint, we're going to be in a pretty good structure defensively. We've got it. I think we've got it figured out pretty good in terms of what we need to do. Now it's just go execute. So feel really good about our plan defensively, how to handle Texas and what they want to do with their tempo, and that we're going to run the football. Those two things are absolute certainties.
When you've got a group of guys that beat this team last year 38-3, obviously it's a different team, but how do you convince them that they're not going to be able to go in there and expect an easy game?
Oh, they have a pretty good sense that last year was last year. They don't carry much of that with them. There's so many of these guys. There are 9 of these guys are in the NFL. They know they're all gone. They just look around the room and say, this is not the same football team. This is clearly a different team. If there was only 1 or 2 guys that weren't on this team, maybe you might have that, right? But this is a totally different group from last year. So there's not much of looking back on last year and going, hey, we rolled these guys last year. This is a totally different team. They're focused on their itinerary, trying to get on the plane. Good?
Good. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you.